Welcome to Gardening with Calyx. I am Thelma. And for those of you who are new to growing Amaryllis, this video is for you because in this video I will be showing you how to pot your brand new Amaryllis bulbs that you've just purchased. So please keep watching. Here they are, several mature Amaryllis bulbs that have been packaged by Calyx for delivery to a client. And this is how they're likely to be delivered to you if you're receiving them via courier. Now, these bulbs have been subjected to a darkroom treatment to induce dormancy, and that treatment usually lasts between 6 to 8 weeks. And the whole idea is the bulbs go into the dormancy for that period of time, storing all of their energy. And when you take them out of the dark room and expose them to light and water, you encourage them to start growing. And the first thing they do is send out flower scapes. And that process is referred to as forcing the bulbs to bloom. So these are forced bulbs. As you see, they have no functioning roots or leaves when they're just coming out of the dark room. They may even appear dry and shriveled. Always examine your new bulbs to make sure that they are firm and in good condition. As we showed you in the video how to force Amaryllis bulbs to bloom, we have several layers of sanitation that we routinely carry out. We are committed to providing only the highest quality Amaryllis to our valued customers. As soon as possible after purchasing your forced bulbs, you should begin the process of taking them out of dormancy, and we do that by exposing them to water and light, as I said before, and thereafter, as quickly as possible, we pot them up. And that's what we're going to be doing, starting with exposing them to light and water. I had the bulb soaking in water, just a little bit at the bottom, in order to hydrate the basal plate. In that way, in theory, it should speed up the rooting process. Now, I had it soaking for about 3 hours, so it's time just to take them out. And as I say, it's an optional step because your potting mix should also be fairly well moistened, and the bulbs can indeed get the moisture from the potting mix. So what I've done in preparation is to put about this amount halfway up into the pot. The mixture I'm using is a commercial growing media containing vermiculite, perlite, and peat moss. Plus, I add about 15% by volume of coarse river sand, not only to improve the drainage, but also the stability of the pots, because blooming Amaryllis plants are quite top heavy, and we do not want them to topple over. I tend to use something of an assembly line when I'm doing my nursery work. Instead of singly, I just line up all the pots that are required and place the bulbs in the middle. Make sure they're upright, and you notice that I am placing them so that about a quarter of the bulb from the neck down is above soil level. Try your best when you're placing them that you don't drop too much of the media in the heart of the bulb. Of course, some of that you can remove when you're watering, but best to avoid that, because if the soil or the potting mix gets lodged in between the various scales, then they may stay there and create a problem for the bulb in due course. So, all right, so all in all, while I'm chatting, this did not take 5 minutes. Now that once you have all of your materials on hand, it is relatively easy. Give it a very good soak as the first watering. Make sure that all of the air pockets are removed, that the mixture settles properly. And after this first watering, this thorough watering, there really should be no need to water these plants for about a 2-week period. We do not want the amaryllis to be sitting in a soggy mixture because that is a sure recipe for the basil plate rotting. Just to point out that it is really a matter of personal preference whether you put one bulb in a 6-inch pot or multiple bulbs in larger size pots. Here I have 3 bulbs in a 12-inch pot. Now this is going to give you a real spectacular display when they all start to bloom, but within a year or so, I would recommend that you take out one of the bulbs because by then they will get rather overcrowded. We've done the potting and have them all lined out on the table. The next step is, of course, to place them in the environment in which they are going to start to bloom. And in that case, it could either be a very bright location indoor, close to a south-facing window. Make sure that they do not get direct sunlight. That may scorch the leaves or the young blooms coming up. Where I'd recommend is in an area that gets dappled light, but not exposed to too much rainfall. In other words, preferably a protected area. We use this open-sided structure as our grow-out area. It's nestled alongside a western-facing wall, and the wall serves as a windbreak. We also built a simple frame and covered it with translucent plastic to protect the bulbs from rains. It's simple, but it works very well for us. The last tip, 2 tips. Be careful, do not overwater your amaryllis. Make sure that before you water again, and as I mentioned in the demo, this should not need watering in on the 2 weeks, but in the event you do the usual finger test and the media is dry to about 2 or 3 inches to your second joint, then you can give it a very light application of water. The other tip is please do not fertilize your amaryllis until they've bloomed out. There is a lot of nutrients in these bulbs, and that is what powers the blooming phase. If you put fertilizer in too early, you run the risk of scorching leaves and flowers. After they've bloomed out, then you can start your fertilizer. That's it for another amaryllis video. We hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and for those of you who are watching who have not yet subscribed, it's a good time now to do so. That way you'll be able to look back on our over 150 videos quite easily, and you will not miss the other video that we expect to do shortly on caring for your amaryllis plants. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.